we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about some case studies. So this is a series where we dive behind the people and the pets that we see here at Modern Vet. And so we're going to be talking about Charlie. Charlie's the man. Charlie tore his ACL though. And so one day I'm sitting here, and I think I was the only person in the hospital, and the phone rings, and I answer the phone, and it's Charlie's mom, and instantly I could tell that like we're real nervous, we're upset, and she's asking about like having her dog seen for a potential like torn ACL. And so I'm sitting here talking to her, and she had called 16 different veterinarians that day, right? And I said, well, like, how did you find me? She's like, well, I just kept calling until I got somebody. And she said the 16 other veterinarians either wouldn't talk to her, told her that in order to even have a conversation, they got to see her, or they just gave her a blind quote of $6,000 to fix the knee, right? And so I got on the phone with her, and I got to talking to her, and we just kind of went over what a torn cruciate is, right? It's a ligament that's in your knee, and I think honestly, like this is a really common question that we get, right? Like I think there's a big stigma behind like ACL tears, right, or CCL tears, cranial versus anterior cruciate ligament, like it's all the same thing, right? ACL, CCL. But we get a lot of questions on that. Like, what is it? How bad is it? What do I need to do? Do I need surgery? And so basically that cruciate ligament sits in your knee, and it helps stabilize your knee. And in humans, a lot of times, like we do an acute tear, right? Like you think of a baseball or a softball player, like planting their foot, blowing out their ACL. And in dogs, it's like a much more chronic injury. So it's kind of like little micro tear after micro tear until it finally goes. Okay. And so, we kind of just went over with Charlie's mom, we kind of just like went over all about cruciate ligaments, what it looks like, how it happens, how you treat it. Okay. And she was getting, I don't want to say she was getting bad information, but she wasn't getting the type of communication that she probably needed, right? I think she was going to kind of a doc in the box veterinarian, if you will, right? Like really just kind of in and out. And the veterinarian just kind of like looked at it and was like, oh, here's some meds. Come back in 2 weeks to see if it's better or not. And I think Charlie's mom was the type of person that like that like didn't work for her. I think that works for a lot of people, but I just don't think it really like worked for her, right? Like she's a very detailed person. She like obviously cares about her dog a lot, and like just the kind of wait and see approach was not right for her, right? And so that's why she called 17 different veterinarians and finally got me on the phone. And so I think that's like another kind of like side note, right? Like part of what we do here is like psychology. You know what I mean? Like understanding what a client needs. Some clients are completely fine with, hey, like we're gonna do some meds for 2 weeks and like let's recheck again and see what happens. And that's the right move for some people, and some people it's not. And so a lot of my job is like reading the room and reading the client. Like, what do you need? What what is important to you? And so for Michelle, that was like finding an answer pretty quickly. And so, we went through this conversation, and, she eventually came in. We did some x-rays. We diagnosed that, hey, like this is a cruciate tear and you need surgery to repair it. And I think this is another opportunity that there's a lot of confusion on, is how you repair an ACL tear in a dog. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. A lot of people say, hey, like you can just rest it for 12 weeks with some anti-inflammatories and they'll be fine. Some people do what's called an extracapsular procedure. And they say that, hey, it works on all dogs. And then other people do like implants, right? So you actually cut bone and place implants to kind of correct the kind of malformation, right? Or the injury itself. And there's not something that works for everybody, right? I think the extracapsular procedure is really great for dogs under 20 pounds, but in this case, Charlie's like a 60-pound dog. Like that's definitely not going to work. Um, and, certainly I think doing nothing, the dog will eventually start putting some pressure on that leg. But this is where I have a conversation about, hey, like, I'm sure you got three other good legs. So cool. Like, we can maybe sacrifice one. But what if we injure that other leg? Now we only got two good legs. And, like, that's not compatible with a good quality of life. And then also, yeah, we can put a little bit of weight on it now in a month or 6 months. We might be able to put some weight on it. But like, where are we going to be at in 5 or 6 years once arthritis sets in that joint? Like, we might not be able to use that leg at all. And so it's really like taking a big picture approach as to what is best for your pet now and also in the future. And so, again, we had those conversations and we elected, hey, like, what's going to be best here is to do the surgery and to do it correctly. And so we do what's called a TTA procedure here. And where other people charge $6,000, we charge $3,900 for this. And so Charlie came in, we did the surgery. He's doing great. He's in his post-op recovery. He's doing fantastic. He's doing his rehab actually right now, and he's doing great. And I think rehab also is kind of like another piece to this that there's like a lot of concern about, and like a lot of kind of almost like this pent-up anxiety with owners is, oh man, but I hear there's like a 2 month period where your dog can't walk. They have to be crated the whole time. You got to drug them up and things like that. And, there's certainly some truth to that. I think in people, it's really easy, right? Like, hey, you tore your ACL for the next 8 weeks. Like, don't put pressure on your leg. And humans are like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I won't do that.